Right, hello there everybody. 𝗕𝗫𝗍𝗓 here for you today, and England, this England right here, have just beaten Greece. And on the one hand, you might be sitting there thinking, well, too bloody right they did, Adam. England invented football, and all the Greeks ever invented was democracy, philosophy, theatre, mathematics, science, mythology, architecture, language, and pretty much the entire building blocks of the entire Western world. But not football. But then, on the other hand, this Greece team is obviously quite good. They're on a really good run. They just beat England at Wembley. All the pressure was on them to get a result. And the way 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗧𝗏's gone and done that was not like really clever or overly complicated, and was actually, to be honest, very unlike England. So I want to talk about that. Okay, so as you no doubt heard in the build-up to this game, England had loads of players pulling out, and it sort of left them with this quasi-B proto-under-21 version of the team. At the back, we had Jordan Pickford, Rico Lewis, Mark Gay, Ezri Konsa, and Kyle Walker, because if you've ever heard anything about his personal life, you know the man simply detests the very concept of pulling out. In midfield, there was a debut for Curtis Jones, who was fantastic, alongside Conor Gallagher, who I really like, and Jude Bellingham, who is obviously Jude Bellingham. And then we had Noni Madueke on the right, football's fiercest fashionista, Noni Madueke, over on the left, and Ollie Watkins up front, which is where we'll start with this. Now, I'm not going to overcomplicate this video or make it really, really long. Probably one of the shortest ones we've ever done, right? Because the points are very, very simple. And the first one is that Ollie Watkins is a very different striker to Harry Kane. Oh, wow, is he really, Adam? Thanks so much for the insight. Glad I clicked on that one. But this is his heat map from that game. He played about 66 minutes of it, and what you will notice is that he looks like a centre-forward. One of England's major problems at the Euros, which everybody picked up on, was that Harry Kane was not aggressive enough as a centre-forward. His game is built around playing in possession-based sides where he drops off, he gets involved, he creates small pockets of space for other players to run into, but for a national side that is full of players who want to be on the front foot, who want to press high, he's a bad fit. Ollie Watkins, however, is not a bad fit. He's got far more energy to him, he does a lot more running, he gets into the channels, he stretches defences, he pulls them back, and then he allows players to get up the pitch behind him. And that already brings us to the very crux of what 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏's system was for winning this game. And that was, in a few words, just get at them. If you watched it, it probably jumped out at you that England looked a lot less controlled and a lot less comfortable in possession than they normally do, but crucially, that they were really going at Greece in one-on-one situations and in trying to get in behind. 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏's plan here was to make England sort of look like they were going to be nervous and ponderous in possession at the back, and then really quickly move the ball up the pitch and give us attacking players space to drive into. Like, it was actually quite refreshing to watch, I think, because there wasn't any sort of real attempt to dominate the ball at the back and sort of unpick a really elaborate press. They just split Walker, they split Lewis, and when they did have the ball, it then fell to either Gallagher or Jones to drop into these areas, draw the press towards them, taking them away from one of the centre-backs or away from one of the full-backs, so they could then really quickly get it into Bellingham, get it into Gordon, get it into Madueke, get it into Watkins. The very first thing England do in this game is they use Curtis Jones to sort of magnetise the press towards him. When that happens, he gives it to Rico Lewis, who immediately finds Anthony Gordon on the byline, and his instinct is not then to check back, see where Bellingham is, can he bring the midfield into play? He just gets at him. He gets the ball, he's got the fullback on 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏, he gets to the byline, cuts it back, and England are actually pretty unfortunate not to get a goal from that. But it's just such a good idea, this. It doesn't take very long to bear fruit, does it? This time they use Conor Gallagher to draw all the Greek pressure towards him. He gets that back out to Walker, and you can see, even from his body language, he's like, oh, we've done it, I've got to find one of the attackers, and he gets it into Madueke. And what you see next isn't like tactical or instructional, but it is what I thought an England side under 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 would end up looking like. Like, Bellingham takes it upon himself to come out and help him. There's a clever little flick, Bellingham puts it around the corner, and then you see that instruction of fucking go and get at them. But the sort of freedom a little bit before that, it's just not really something we've seen from England in a very long time. And then, of course, just like Anthony Gordon, he's not worried about getting to the edge of the box and waiting for everyone to join him and penning the opposition in. He just gets to the byline, pulls that ball back, and there's your goal. And then just from there, for all the spells where England were dominant in this game, that's what they were looking to do. Like, this one's a few minutes later, you draw the press with the midfield, it then gives you a bit of space to work, and you go straight into the attackers. You then bypass Jones and Gallagher. They're able to get the ball straight into Anthony Gordon, who again just gets straight at the Greek defence, but this time he loses the ball in doing so, and England come under a little bit of pressure, which is why you don't tend to see this style of football from a team as good as England particularly often, because it's a lot less precise, it's a lot less controlled. Greece had a really good spell in the first half that came about because by playing this way, England couldn't get on top of them. You're relying so heavily on the individual 1v1 qualities of all of your attackers. And even like a really good success rate in that regard is only like, what, 50, 60%? You're still going to lose the ball an awful lot. What we got, though, was an England team playing with a degree of freedom that we don't normally associate with England at international level. It was really interesting watching all the players make these little decisions as the game went on. Like, Rico Lewis wasn't supposed to invert, but he's very good in the middle, and he would occasionally find himself in there, which enabled Jones or Gallagher to push up into the forward line. And likewise, Jude Bellingham as well would occasionally drop much deeper into those areas, giving Gallagher and giving Jones the license to push forward. Like Jones's goal, my God, my pants were practically off watching that. But in the post-match interview, when he was getting asked about it, that was the first thing he said. Like, Jude was sitting and sort of gave him the encouragement to push forward and get involved. That's a little on-pitch rotation that Greece would have struggled to defend against. But just hang on 1 second there, Adam, you little scamp. Didn't you say that part of the reason they were able to play this sort of aggressively and openly was because they had Ollie Watkins and not Harry Kane? Well, then why were England struggling? Why was it only 1-0 until they hooked Watkins, I'm going to have to go get that back, and brought Kane on instead? Found it. Well, that is because, and you may be familiar with the terminology people are starting to use, of the concept of starters and finishers. You can't even say substitutes anymore. Your uncle will definitely be saying around the Christmas dinner table this year. This is Greece's average positions map, right? And you can see straight away, that's so disciplined, that's so structured. That is a 4-2-3-1, clear as day, virtually nobody breaking out with that shape, and the centre forward's just in a weird spot because he wasn't really getting on the ball very much. The overwhelming majority of games that England play will be against lesser teams than them, that don't expect to have the ball, that don't expect to be able to get on top, that want to stifle what they do and then punish them in transitions and in the space behind. And as we have already illustrated in this video, but I'll do it again because there was just absolutely loads of examples, the single best way to break down a well-structured, disciplined team who have a nice mid-block like this that doesn't want you to play through them is dribbling. Get at them. Go one-on-one. Break open their structure with individual quality. And England, as you saw last night, have loads of players who are capable of playing this way, of coaxing out the press a little bit to create a little bit of room, but then still pressing as high and aggressively as you can in the final third to stretch the opposition and go very quickly up the pitch. But that is absolutely not Harry Kane's game anymore, if it ever was at all. Because the point I'm trying to make is why England were better when Kane came on, and I appreciate I have started by telling you why England are worse when Kane is on the pitch, but that is because, write this down, game state. England had the lead, but Greece had a really good spell at the end of the first half, and they were having decent enough chances in the second half. They were not sitting in a really disciplined, compact shape, stopping England play through the middle. They were taking more and more risks. They were leaving more and more room. And in that situation, when a team is stepping out and giving you these opportunities, then someone like Harry Kane's actually incredibly useful. Annoyingly, the best example of this in the whole game, the stadium director cut to a close-up of a Greek player as he was doing it. But what happens is, when the opposition come out and they're going to leave those spaces, then all of a sudden, having a centre forward who'll drop allows you to do the exact same thing that Jones and Gallagher were doing further up the pitch. They can then draw all the attention towards them, and because you're not doing that on the edge of the box or when there's no room in behind, you're doing it in the middle part of the pitch, you can play people in. Like, I'm just going to have to use a still here and you'll take my word for it, right? These are a load of players who've been attracted to Harry Kane when they should be here, here, and here, and because he's able to play out from that, you've just moved that sort of nice press bait / magnet further up the pitch. And that just isn't really going to happen at 0-0. Like, this is a situation specifically tailored for Kane, and whisper it, but that is probably how they should use him going forward. I'm delighted 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 had the balls to do that in his last 2 games. But anyway, right, just to get back to my main point, which was that 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 somehow invented running in this game. Do you remember where the 2 other England goals came from? They've got it at the back, the build-up is patient, but now Greece really do need to try and get at them. And once again, Curtis Jones is the magnet for the press. They all get drawn towards him, and that allows England to play another really nice, clever, tricky, direct 1-2 up the pitch that puts Jude Bellingham in. And the most important part of that goal happens off camera, so it's quite difficult to appreciate. But because England are being really aggressive and pushing up on Greece and stretching them out across the pitch, it means that when Rodgers drops all the way into this area, nobody's going to go with him. They're not going to abandon the back line and just go chasing players around. That's insane. But it gives them the ability to bang 1-2 into Bellingham and they're in. And then the third goal, the exact same thing again. Bait, 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 bait. Draw them in, draw them in, draw them in. You're not actually trying to gently work it through them. You're trying to create a space in behind the press that you can get at them in. And Bellingham's like, all right, come on then. Like, there's total arrogance in what he's doing here. He's like, come on then, I'm in the area you want to press. Come and get me. And as soon as they do, he just flicks it out, not really probably even looking where it's going, and Gibbs White gets it in all this room. And then, what does he do? He fucking gets at them. And something that is really, really notable to me about that third goal, because it's going to get praised for weeks and ever, and I think it's probably one of the best goals Curtis Jones has ever going to score. That is 2 players, Morgan Gibbs White and Curtis Jones, playing with a great degree of positional freedom, doing something incredible with the football. They're 2 players that were in 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏's under-21 Euro squad. They just didn't really have positions, just had flexibility, just played with total freedom. And I think you saw a little glimpse of what the future of England might look like in that game, because so many of those players, regardless of who the manager is, are going to get into this team, and that's what they're capable of doing. Don't want to get carried away like it's only Greece, but exciting, isn't it? And that's it. Honestly, like, there's nothing any more complicated than that. Like, 𝗘𝗘𝗧𝗏 knew he had the players at his disposal to play a really direct running style at Greece and then set them up at the back in a way that was going to give them like the best possible opportunities to go and do it. It's not a controlled way to play football, hence why it swung back and forward and Greece had really good spells, but it is, if you do it right, really effective. I liked it, basically. More running, more footballers should run. Just, that's what you used to do on the playground, didn't it, when you got it? Just head down, don't look for a pass, just get at somebody. You just, it's what it should be. But yeah, like, that's it. Please don't forget to subscribe to us here over on YouTube. More subscribers is great. It makes me feel all happy and warm inside of my heart. My socials are here, and huge, big, exciting news this week. I've joined Blue Sky. Saw the way the wind was blowing, so you can get me on Insta, you can get me on Twitter, you can get me on there, and you should, because there's cool stuff happening that I would dearly love to tell you about. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the England performance. Are you excited for Tuchel? Will they still play this way? Would you secretly, like me, have liked to have seen 𝗘𝗘𝗧𝗏 just bring the under-21s and have like one tournament with them? Or if not, just tell me, I don't mind. And just before I go, can I just say one thing really quickly? To any of you that have stuck with the video thus far, you're my favourites, right? The weather out there, that is starting to turn. That is not kind. That is battering every single one of us. And men especially, because I know we don't do this, go and get some lip balm and go and get some moisturiser and properly take care of yourself, because that will savage you out there, and we always think we're above this stuff. This is strawberry Carmex, and it's been really good. That's my top tip for you. That's the life advice I'm imparting. Now, goodbye. Goodbye. That was it. That is luxury itself, in my opinion. Goodbye.